Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JB Hoops, and today I've got my post-draft lottery and combine BigBoard 3.0. I'm going to be breaking down my top 40 prospects into 5 tiers, with the individual placings being less important than the tiers, particularly in tier 4 and 5. If you enjoy the video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. I'm getting close to 2k subs and that would be sick to hit soon. And let's just get it started with some honorable mentions. So I'm going to roughly order my 41 through 60th ranked guys, plus put in some other guys I think are worthy of two-way contracts. There's tons of interesting guys in this range, and it wouldn't surprise me if quite a few of them ended up as first round picks. But anyway, let's just get right into it, starting off with tier 5 with my 40th through 26th ranked prospects. Starting tier 5 off at 40, I have Danny Wolf. Wolf is a very unique prospect as a 7-foot ball handler and playmaker who does a bit of everything. I'm personally not super high on him, and I'm really not comfortable projecting his role or impact on either side of the ball, but he had some impressive moments in production at Michigan and he's clearly talented. So I can understand why people are very high on him, but for me, he's at the bottom of tier 5 at 40. At 39, I have Hansen Yang, the 7'2 center playing for Qingdao. Yang really impressed at the combine and measured very well. I haven't watched a ton and the CBA comp isn't great, but he was really productive this season and in past FIBA tourneys, despite not being maximized as a hub. The skill set at that size is very intriguing, and although the athleticism could be a real issue, and I mean real issue, I think he's at least worth taking a swing on in the second round. So I have Hansen Yang coming in at 39. Next up at 38, I have Ben Sarif, the 6'5 guard playing for Ulm. Sarif is a solid creator bet as a guard that carried a high usage in a pro league, and is able to handle the ball, create out of the pick and roll, and get downhill. I'm a bit unsure of his translation to the league, and he has struggled with his shooting, decision making, and consistency, but he's young and already impactful as a pro, so I can understand the first round talks. But for now, Sarif comes in at 38. At 37, I have the Florida champion Alex Condon. Condon measured in a bit taller than expected at over 6'11" barefoot, but the length isn't great. He's a good athlete, very solid defensively, and can hit cutters and run simple actions from the top of the key. The poor finishing and shooting hurt him a bit, so I'm not sure he gets a first round promise. Plus it would be really cool to see him return to Florida anyway. They would be everyone's preseason number 1 for sure, but he hasn't pulled out yet, so I have Alex Condon at 37. Coming in at 36, I have Yegor Demon out of BYU. Demon measured in a little taller than expected and overall had a very positive combine, but I've been seeing some top 10 and even top 5 shouts, and frankly I just don't see it. He was really poor throughout the year, especially when he started facing serious comp. His ceiling is interesting as a big handler with fantastic passing and a smooth, albeit low percentage jumper. I just can't see him being able to effectively leverage his passing given the lack of burst and strength. So I have Yegor Demon at 36. Ahead of him at 35, I have Marquette's Cam Jones. Jones isn't the best athlete, and that'll definitely limit his impact on both ends, but he's super crafty, a much better shooter than the percentages say, whilst being dominant in the pick and roll. And overall, he just had an awesome season for Marquette. He's polished, has great feel, and could quickly make an impact in the right situation. Next at 34, I have another dominant college player in Janai Broome. He tested pretty poorly at the combine and he might need to slim down a bit to be effective and hold his own defensively, but his college production, feel, defensive instincts and polished game will give him looks in the first round for sure. But in this one, I have Janai Broome at 34. Broome's teammate Tahad Pettiford comes in at 33. Him measuring in at above 6 foot with a 42-inch vert will be a relief for interested teams. Tahad was awesome in the first combine game and then had a stinker in the next one, and that kind of sums up how I think he'll be at least early on, with his game being pretty streaky and some matchups being better than others. But he's super talented, a strong passer and excellent shooter, so Tahad could definitely bring some creation and energy off the bench, so I have him at 33. At 32, I have Bogoljub Markovic out of Mega. Markovic is an impressive mover at 6'11 with some intriguing handling and off-ball upside. He's been super efficient and impactful this year. He shoots it well and can really pass. He's got a long way to go physically, and certain areas of his game are severely impacted by that, but he could be a very interesting pickup in the late first or early second. Next up, I have Liam McNeely out of UConn. Liam can really shoot it and is a good connector at 6'8". I think he'll be a legit high-level shooter and impact with his rebounding too, whilst not being a cone defensively. but he will need to be way more effective inside the arc to counter the hard closeouts. The ankle injury probably hurt his numbers quite a bit, but he definitely makes an impact and it's easy to see him succeeding in the league. But right now, I'm happy with McNeely at 31. At 30, I have Cedric Coward. Coward has been a big riser for a lot of people with his insane +9 wingspan and athleticism. I would love to see him head to Duke, but that seems unlikely at this point, as he'll probably get a first round promise and stay in the draft. He was incredible this season, but played only 6 games due to a shoulder injury, and historically he has struggled against high level comp, but he can do everything, and with his size, touch, and physical tools, I'd be fine taking him in the first round. At 29, I have Ryan Kalkbrenner out of Creighton. Kalkbrenner is just massive, he's super disciplined defensively and just has excellent fundamentals, plus I even buy him shooting it at some point. He definitely has his limitations defensively with the foot speed, but he's had an incredible college career and should be able to transition into a backup 5 role pretty smoothly, so I have Ryan Kalkbrenner at 29. Next up, I have Tyrese Proctor out of Duke. He has his flaws for sure with the inconsistency, finishing, and free throw shooting, and he definitely still needs to get a lot stronger, but I just think he has the tools and ability to be a very valuable two-way wing in the league. He shoots the shit out of the ball, defends his ass off, and has the size to defend both guard spots and some wings. I'm probably a bit biased on this one, but I really like Proctor and will consider him in the late first for sure. 2025's most outstanding player, Walter Clayton Jr., comes in at 27. Clayton Jr. is an insane shooter with ridiculous range, versatility, and a quick release. He's a good athlete, works hard defensively, and is able to put the ball on the floor and create quality looks. The lackluster passing and decision making hold him back from being a top 20 guy, but he can get buckets, and there's definitely a lot of teams who could use a nuclear shooter like Clayton Jr. At the top of tier 5 at 26, I have Rocco Zukowski out of Brisbane. The Australian giant measured in at 7'3" barefoot and performed well in the drills and athletic testing. He's easily the highest upside guy in this tier in my opinion, given his mobility, touch, and defensive potential. He had a rough season with limited minutes and a few injuries, but I think if a team has a real plan in place for his development, he could easily outperform his likely draft position, so I have Zukowski at the top of tier 5 at 26. Moving on to tier 4 with my prospects ranked 25 through 15. At the start of tier 4 at 25, I have Yaxel Lenderborg out of UAB. Yaxel had a very impressive combine, performing well in the drills and scrimmages and measuring at about 6'10" in shoes with a 7'4" wingspan, making him much more viable at the 5 spot. He hasn't played much tough comp over his career and the defense needs work, but he should be able to put more effort in on that end in a reduced role. He does everything offensively, is polished and super skilled, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone took him in the top 20. Next at 24, I have Miles Bird. Bird really did himself a favour by competing in the scrimmages, by hitting a few threes, playmaking, and showing off his havoc-wrecking defense, recording 7 stocks in one game. He will need to get a lot stronger and shoot it more consistently. He's also not getting a lot of mainstream hype, so I could definitely see him returning to work on his body and finishing, but I would take Bird in the first round for sure. Just ahead of him at 23, I have Carter Bryant. The 6'8" Arizona freshman is a very intriguing talent. I'm seeing lottery shouts right now, and to be honest, I get it. He's long, athletic, and an awesome defender with good feel. Just personally, I would have liked to see more this year, and I don't know if I can take a play finishing wing who played limited minutes quite that high. But the tools and talent are clearly elite, so I can understand having him a bit higher, but for me, Carter Bryant lands at 23. Now at 22, I have Will Riley. The Illinois freshman measured in at over 6'8" barefoot. His 186-pound frame definitely needs a lot of work, but I really like his skill set. He's got soft touch, impressive feel, and can really shoot it. He'll need to improve his strength, defense, and consistency, and overall he's a long-term play for sure, but I think he's definitely worth taking a swing on in the mid-first round. His teammate Kasparas Yakashonas comes in at 21. Yakashonas measured in a bit bigger than I expected at the combine at 6'4.5" barefoot, along with some solid athleticism numbers, but overall I'm just not as high as some on his projection, given his struggles against tougher defenses and poor on-court athleticism. His combination of shooting and passing is awesome, and I think he could definitely outperform where I have him ranked, but I just worry about his impact if he isn't a very high-level shooter. So Yakashonas comes in at 21. At 20, I have Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. Fleming's strengths are very impressive. but outside of play finishing and shooting, he can't do much on O. The passing and handling just isn't there, the competition he faced wasn't great, and he isn't really big enough to play the 5, but he's a good athlete with the instincts and a 7'5" wingspan to make an impact defensively, and with his shooting, he could play a role pretty quickly, but right now I have Fleming at 20. Next up, I have Nolan Traore out of St. Quentin. Traore has had his ups and downs this year as a 30% usage creator in a pro league, but he's been much better and more consistent since the new year. He's an impressive downhill creator with nice playmaking chops. He has to improve as a shooter and shot maker, particularly off the bounce, but he's young, had impressive moments against good opposition, and dominated youth comps, so I'm still holding my Traore stock and he comes in at 19. Now at 18, I have Noah Pender. The 6'8" forward is a dominant defensive prospect. He does have a long way to go offensively, but the flashes are impressive and he's a very quick processor. He's also a bit older, close to 2 years older than Asenge, but he's very talented and has got better and better as the season's progressed. He almost had a triple-double the other day, and with his size and versatility, could be very coveted in this draft. So Noah Pender comes in at 18. Just ahead of him at 17, I have Nick Clifford out of Colorado State. Clifford is just a hooper with a super well-rounded and versatile game, with his shooting, touch, playmaking, and defensive impact. He's quite old as a guy who'll turn 24 in his rookie year, but he had an incredible season and should be able to fit into anywhere and quickly make an impact. At 16, I have Georgia's Asa Newell. The 6'10" big has dropped a little for me upon rewatch, as the tweener big archetype and defensive struggles might be hard to overcome. But he has the athleticism to at least cover up some issues. His decision making also needs work. He has solid touch, so if the shot is real, along with his excellent play finishing, he could be a very valuable player. So he sits at 16 on my BigBoard 3.0. At the top of tier 4 at 15, I have Adu Thero out of Arkansas. Thero is a freak athlete who can handle and get to the rim against anyone. Defensively, he's a stock machine who can make an impact on or off the ball. He's also got a lot of positive shooting indicators with his touch and effective mid-range game, but the 3-point shot is the swing skill, and that coming around would be huge, and could elevate him from being a handy rotation player to a high-level starter or potentially even star. But for now, I have Thero at 15. Moving on to tier 3 with prospects ranked 14 through 3. Starting off tier 3 at 14, I have LeBaron Philon. I love Philon's game and think he was a little restricted under Nate Oates' system and in his role, but he's got a very versatile skill set and could make an impact on both ends on and off the ball. He's shifty, can get to the paint, has super soft touch, and is an advanced playmaker. The shot will be the swing skill, but I'd buy it long term. And the strength and power are the main areas I'll be watching to see improve, but I'm high on Philon and would seriously consider him in the 10 to 20 range. Next up at 13, I have Maryland's Derek Queen. Queen is probably one of the toughest evals in the class for me. He tested extremely poorly athletically at the combine, but has solid size and length and actually held up pretty well in space this season. The defense is the worry, and I think he'll need specific guys around him, but he's just so talented and skilled offensively with his handle, finishing, and feel. I also rate the jump shot and think that could be a real weapon for him, so I think Derek Queen is absolutely worth betting on, but for me, he lands at 13. At 12, I have Jeremiah Fears. Fears is another really interesting eval as a high volume creator who had his ups and downs as an 18-year-old in the SEC. He's got good burst and a tight handle, but lacks the explosiveness and craft to finish inside, and he also had some significant struggles defending and taking care of the ball, and just with his overall offensive consistency. But his upside is immense and his role was very difficult, so I'd definitely consider taking Fears as high as the mid-lotto, but on this board I have him at 12. At 11, I have Georgetown's Thomas Sorber. Sorber is skilled, can really pass it, and he's got some good footwork and post moves. Defensively, he is incredible as a 6'10" big with a 7'6" wingspan who contains ball handlers, blocks shots, and rarely fouls. He was dominant this year on that end, and that's reflected in every defensive metric. I love Sorber's game and feel he's been a little forgotten due to the foot injury, but he is an awesome prospect and should 100% go in the lottery. Now at 10, I have Jace Richardson out of Michigan State. At the combine, Jace measured in a little shorter than expected, but is still 6'2" in shoes with a 6'6" wingspan and 38-inch vert. His production and impact metrics as an 18-year-old were insane. He's an elite off-ball scorer and showed some impressive on-ball capabilities later on in the year. The playmaking needs to get better and the size will limit him on D, but I absolutely love his game and kind of want to have him even higher, but the size does make things a little tougher. So in this one, I have Jace coming in at 10. Just ahead of him at 9, I have Trey Johnson out of Texas. Trey has a legit case to be the best shooter in the draft, shooting 38.4% from 3 off the bounce and 40.8% on catch and shoot looks on a massive volume of attempts. He's also a nice secondary playmaker, and whilst he has a lot of work to do defensively, he has solid size and length, and in an NBA role should be able to give more effort on that end. I've outlined my concerns with Trey in previous videos, but the shooting and shot making are truly special, and I can understand having him higher for sure, but right now I have Trey Johnson at 9. Ace Bailey comes in at 8. Ace is a ridiculous shooter and shot maker at 6'9", with the length and athleticism to impact on both ends of the floor. I am quite worried about the feel and if he'll be able to scale down, but he has the tools and skill set to be really effective, especially if he's placed in the right environment to succeed, but right now I have Bailey coming in at 8. Next up at 7, I have Con Knipple. Con had a phenomenal season for Duke and just always stood out as someone you'd love to have on your team. The athletic limitations are definitely a worry, but he's just so skilled and polished offensively and could be an ideal third option type of guy with his deadly shooting, soft touch, strength and feel. Con Knipple is an elite prospect and it wouldn't shock me if he went top 5, but for me right now I have him at 7. Coming in at 6, I have Colin Murray Boyles, the 6'8 sophomore out of South Carolina. CMB is a strange archetype for the modern game with the lack of outside shooting at the 4 spot, but he's a fantastic defender with the length, mobility, instincts and feel to be really dominant on that end. And offensively, he's strong, a polished interior scorer, impressive passer, and can handle and get to the rim. The shooting could limit his effectiveness and viability, but I'd bet on his youth, production, and standout skill set. He'll need the right infrastructure to surround him with, but I really love CMB and have him at 6 overall. At 5, I have Noah Asenge. The 6'10 wing playing for Ulm has just been ridiculously productive as an 18-year-old in a pro league. His ability to get to the line is insane. He's massive, has phenomenal mobility and tools, good feel, and has so much room to grow on both ends. There are raw prospects with nice flashes all the time, but when one has the tools and clear talent Asenge possesses, whilst giving you elite impact in the pros as one of the youngest guys in the class, you just have to bet on that upside. So I have Noah Asenge at 5. At 4, I have the 7'2 freshman out of Duke, Carmen Malawach. Carmen is a giant, still 18, and has impressive mobility to go along with his excellent play finishing ability. Malawach has soft touch, and I think he will shoot it at some point, and whilst he definitely needs to improve his rebounding and defensive positioning, I believe he'll be able to anchor a high level defense with his 7'7 wingspan, foot speed, and instincts. He's still a very raw prospect, but his upside is tantalizing, and I really like Carmen's game and think he could make a huge impact on both ends for whoever drafts him. At the top of tier 3 and 3rd overall, I have Baylor freshman VJ Edgecombe. VJ quelled the noise about him being shorter, measuring in at 6'4 barefoot, and overall had a very solid combine. I do have some worries about the handle and decision making as a scorer, but VJ is a super athlete who shoots it, makes plays on both ends, and will bring energy every night to wherever he lands, while still having a ton of room to improve on both ends of the floor. So I have Edgecombe at the top of tier 3. Now we have tier 2 with my second ranked prospect. In a tier of his own at 2, I have Dylan Harper. Harper's combination of advantage creation, finishing, playmaking and size are so valuable, and the spot up shooting is already solid. So I have no doubts about his ability to play on or off the ball. He'll need to lock in defensively and work on counters from outside the paint, but he's super talented and in my opinion the clear number 2 in this class. Now we have tier 1, the Cooper Flagg tier. As a shock to no one, my number 1 prospect is Cooper Flagg. The 6'9 freshman with a 7-foot wingspan had an all-time great freshman season as a guy who reclassed up. He impressed and improved every time I watched him, and I have every reason to believe he'll continue to get better and better. He does everything on both ends. I dropped a video earlier this cycle if you want to check it out. He's going to be awesome for the Mavs, and I cannot wait to see him put on that jersey. Alright, that wraps up my BigBoard 3.0. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Comment down below, I'll make sure to reply. We're really close to 2k subs and that would be awesome to hit, so I appreciate it. I'll have more content coming out soon, so stay tuned. And anyway, that's all I got. JB Hoops out.